Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an interesting evening. On the occasion of the second reading of this bill, one of the other bills we were debating in the chamber was the Motor Vehicle Sales Amendment Bill. And I raise this for a particular reason. The context of our debate around the Motor Vehicle Sales Amendment Bill was that the original Motor Vehicle Sales Act had been written with a review clause in it. So the bill we were debating on the night of the second reading of this bill was a bill that had arisen out of a review of the Motor Vehicle Sales Act that had been mandated by the original Act. So the field of motor vehicle sales is obviously a complex and fast-moving one, with a whole series of cutting-edge scientific, no doubt commercial and ethical issues. And so it's, of course, an area that required a review clause. And it's no surprise that when that review of the Motor Vehicle Sales Act occurred, it threw up actually some issues with the operation of the Act that required amendment. Now, in the case of human-assisted reproduction, it's at least arguable, I think, that this is a field that's at least as fast-moving and complex as motor vehicle sales. And it could be even that it has some scientific and ethical issues that are trickier to handle than the area of motor vehicle sales. And yet, this was an act that was written without a review clause. And so in the second reading debate of this bill, I devoted some time to this issue of review and said that I would come back to it in the third reading debate. The members of the House will have noted that the very first version of this bill that we considered for our first reading was quite a simple bill. You know, it was just a few clauses long, quite straightforward language. And then when it came back to the House from the Select Committee, the bill was not the simple, straightforward one. The track changes version of the bill, in fact, had lots and lots of additions and deletions and new framing. And the reason for that was that what appeared to be a simple issue actually turned out to be quite a lot more complex. And what the Green Party argues is that this same principle actually applies to other aspects of this area of human endeavour. So we were disappointed to learn during the Select Committee process that the original Act had not provided for review as an automatic process as part of its implementation, as the Motor Vehicle Sales Act had provided. And then so we were disappointed that it turned out to be that the Minister in introducing this bill, this amendment bill, hadn't taken the opportunity to incorporate a review process, which would easily have been done in this bill, sir. So now we're in the process of urging the Minister, assuming that this bill passes tonight, urging the Minister to conduct a review of the operation of the Act and its fitness for purpose. As an example of some of the issues that have arisen since this Act was passed in 2004, I draw the House's attention to the report of the Law Commission from 2006, published March 2006, on new issues in legal parenthood. The Law Commission made 29 recommendations. At least 12 of them relate directly to the issues that are canvassed in this Act and could have been dealt with in a review, could have been dealt with in this bill, but were not, sir. So, for example, the Law Commission made recommendations about agreements between donors and parents. They made recommendations about counselling and education. They made recommendations about information about parentage and parenthood. For example, what should appear on birth certificates? What should appear in information registers? What kind of access to information should people have? So the Law Commission made a large number of recommendations, some 29. I've been contacted since this bill was introduced to the House by someone who is a man who's a sperm donor, has donated sperm for some years, is the biological father of, I think, 4 children in multiple families. And his concern was that there is no requirement to record on birth certificates the involvement of a third biological parent. And he's saying, well, what about some of the issues that might arise from that? Because the information that he had, and I've no reason to doubt this, is that only a minority of parents actually tell their offspring about the involvement of a third biological parent, about the involvement of a sperm donor. And so he's saying, well, I've got biological children out there who don't necessarily know that I'm their biological father, who have got half-siblings, whom they also do not know about. What would be the situation if some of those individuals formed a relationship? Oughtn't they to have the right to know about that? These were the kinds of issues that the Law Commission raised in that 2006 report that occurred since Parliament passed the Act in 2004. And these are the kinds of issues that could be addressed in the process of a review. So the Law Commission has raised some pretty serious issues. There are some pretty serious issues that have been raised from other quarters. And my view, sir, is that this House has a responsibility to ensure that there is an appropriate forum for the consideration of those kinds of issues. And so far, sir, there has not been one created. We urge, sir, that the Minister now takes the opportunity to institute a review of the operation of the Act, to consider the recommendations of the Law Commission, to consider all of the other issues that have arisen subsequently, and ensures that this Act is fit for purpose. We're confident now that this bill does in fact correct one of the aspects of the original Act that required clarification. Turned out to be more complicated than we thought. And so my suggestion to this House is that that may well prove to be the case for other aspects of the Act also. So we urge the review.
Right.